At 4:47 on a rain-dark Thursday, Laurel Dane stood at a neighborhood bakery and canceled the space-themed cake her 9-year-old son had designed himself. She kept her voice steady, but her fingers crushed the edge of the order receipt. Behind her, single father Merritt Cole noticed a hand-drawn constellation card slip from her bag. He returned it without asking questions, yet one detail stayed with him: 9 uneven stars arranged like a crooked kite. The next evening, a storm erased every star above the community rooftop. The children thought their astronomy night was ruined. Then, Merritt carried an old brass projector into the darkened workshop, fitted a handmade disc inside it, and turned the small crank. Nico's crooked constellation climbed across the ceiling. A midnight blue cake appeared beneath it, decorated exactly like his drawing. Laurel covered her mouth and began to cry, not because someone had spent money on her, but because a quiet man had noticed the one promise she could no longer afford to keep. Before we continue, tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? Merritt Cole had entered Bellwether Bakery for 2 plain loaves and a bag of cinnamon twists. His 9-year-old daughter, Piper, was beside him, still wearing the navy cardigan from school and explaining why Pluto deserved another vote. Merritt listened with the careful seriousness he gave to every subject she loved. He was 38, a single father, and the owner of a small precision repair shop 2 doors down. Most days, his hands smelled faintly of brass polish, machine oil, and the peppermint soap he used before collecting Piper. They had almost reached the counter when the woman ahead of them pushed a pink order receipt toward the bakery owner. "I need to cancel Saturday's cake," she said. The bakery owner lowered her voice. The cake layers had already been baked. The deposit could not be returned, but canceling now would save the remaining balance. "That's fine," the woman replied. "Please don't finish it." She wore an ivory wrap blouse beneath a rain-damp camel coat. Her chestnut hair had been pinned neatly that morning, though loose waves now framed a tired face. She did not look careless. She looked like someone holding 4 urgent problems in 2 hands. The bakery owner offered a smaller cake at cost. The woman shook her head. "My son will understand." The sentence was gentle, but Piper stopped talking about Pluto. Merritt looked down at the bread display. He knew the humiliation of having strangers witness a private calculation. During his late wife's illness, he had once stood in a pharmacy deciding which bill could survive another week. He would not do that to this woman at a bakery counter. She tucked the receipt into a canvas shoulder bag, thanked the owner, and left. A small square of blue card had fallen near the door. Piper picked it up before the rain could reach it. 9 gold stars had been drawn across the card. They formed a crooked kite with 1 bright star at the center. Beneath them, in a child's careful block letters, was a note about Nico's 9th orbit. Merritt and Piper hurried outside. The woman stood beside an aging silver hatchback as steam curled near its windshield. "Excuse me," Merritt said, holding out the card. "This fell from your bag." Relief crossed her face. "Thank you. He worked on that for 2 nights. "The stars are good," Piper said. "The middle one looks like a compass." The woman smiled at her, and some of the strain left her eyes. "He'll be glad somebody understood it." Merritt offered the number of an honest garage. Her guard returned at once. She already had an estimate and could manage it. Merritt only warned her not to open the hot coolant cap, then walked away without watching her make the call. Piper waited until they were inside his shop before speaking. "That's Nico's mom." Merritt set the bread on his workbench. "You know him. He's new in my class. He eats lunch in the library because the cafeteria is too loud. He knows all the winter constellations, but he says them quietly so nobody thinks he's showing off." Merritt glanced through the rain-streaked window. The silver hatchback was still parked outside. "We are not buying a stranger's cake behind her back," he said. "I know." Piper traced a clean circle on the dusty bench. "But we could invite him to Star Night." There had not been a Star Night in nearly 3 years. Merritt's late wife, Elodie, had led a Saturday astronomy club while he repaired its donated telescopes. After her death, the equipment was covered, and a compact brass star projector was locked beneath Merritt's stairs. Piper had never asked him to reopen the club until now. "The hall director still has the roof key," she said. "You told me." Merritt loosened the cuff around his wrist. "A club night is not a birthday rescue. It doesn't have to be. Nico likes stars. I need another person who knows Pluto was treated unfairly." Merritt tried not to smile. The next morning he saw the woman at school pickup, with a hospital badge, turned backward against her blouse. Piper introduced them. Her name was Laurel Dane, a pediatric home care nurse. Nico emerged carrying library books and the blue constellation card inside a clear folder. Merritt spoke carefully. He invited Nico to a small astronomy evening at the neighborhood science hall. No collection, no photographs, no public story about a struggling family. Just 6 children, 2 telescopes, and hot chocolate. Laurel studied him. "Is this because you heard me cancel the cake?" "Partly," he admitted. "But I am asking because my daughter wants your son there, and because the club should have reopened a long time ago." "You can say no." Laurel looked toward Piper and Nico, who were comparing constellation books on the curb. "No surprise party," she said. "He has had enough promises disappear." "No spectacle," Merritt agreed. "You can approve everything." After a long pause, Laurel said yes to an astronomy night. That afternoon, the science hall director confirmed the roof and telescopes. Then she checked the weather report. A heavy coastal storm was expected to arrive before sunset. The roof would be locked, and the building's aging electrical system could not support an indoor digital show. There was only one alternative. Merritt stood beneath the stairs that evening, looking at the wooden trunk he had not opened since Elodie's funeral. Inside was the brass star projector she had used for cloudy nights. Piper placed her hand on the lid. "Maybe it doesn't have to stay dark because Mom is gone," she whispered. Merritt closed his eyes, then turned the key. The projector was smaller than Piper remembered and heavier than it looked. Its housing had darkened almost brown. One lens was cloudy, and the hand crank stopped after half a turn. Merritt laid Elodie's old tool roll beside it, waited until his hand steadied, and removed the first screw. Piper cleaned the brass with cotton swabs while Merritt freed the seized gear. Beneath the grease, he found a narrow strip of green thread wound around the axle. Elodie had tied it there as a quick marker during one of the club's repairs. Merritt had forgotten it completely. He left the thread where it was. Laurel arrived after her nursing shift to inspect the plan, carrying 2 coffees and sandwiches while Nico stayed with a trusted neighbor. "Payment for the planning meeting," she said. Merritt accepted the coffee. Fair terms. He showed her the hall approval, invited parent list, and weather contingency. Laurel asked about supervision, projector heat, and who knew about the canceled cake. "Only the bakery owner, Piper, and me know," Merritt said. "The other parents were invited to a club reopening." Laurel's shoulders eased, though she remained watchful. Her former husband had been generous in public and controlling in private. He liked dramatic gifts, photographs, and grateful audiences. Later, every favor became evidence that she owed him. When he left, he also left unpaid bills and a son who no longer trusted exciting promises. "I am not ashamed that money is tight," Laurel said. "I am ashamed when people make Nico perform gratitude for it." Merritt looked at the open projector. "Then we do not make him grateful," he said. "We make him useful." Instead of making Nico the object of a surprise, Merritt would ask him to help operate the restored projector. Every child would have a job, and Nico would choose the first constellation. Laurel smiled despite herself. "He will choose the crooked one." "I was hoping he would." Merritt placed a blank metal disc beneath a clear sheet. He had copied the pattern from the blue card only after Laurel gave permission. 9 pinpoints formed the crooked kite. The center star was slightly larger. Laurel touched the edge of the tracing paper. "He drew that after we moved. He said every new place needed a shape only we could recognize." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Near closing time, the bakery owner called. Laurel's deposit had covered the cake layers. The club could have them finished for only the decorating cost. Merritt did not answer for Laurel. He put the call on speaker and let her decide. Laurel looked at the brass projector, the hand-cut disc, and Piper polishing a lens at the far end of the bench. "No message about charity," she said. "No giant name across it." The bakery owner suggested a midnight blue glaze, with 9 gold stars copied from Nico's design. The center could hold 1 small candle. Laurel's eyes filled, but she blinked the tears away. "Yes," she said quietly. "Please finish it." She paid the decorating cost herself. That mattered to Merritt. It also mattered that she had allowed the plan to continue. Over the next day, Merritt cut a replacement gear, Laurel cleaned the fine lens mounts, and Piper painted a club sign without Nico's name, so the evening belonged to everyone. The storm arrived early Saturday. Rain hammered the science hall windows, forcing the director to seal the rooftop door. Merritt darkened the ground floor workshop and arranged chairs beneath the white plaster ceiling. Laurel came in with Nico, both of them wet at the shoulders. Nico tried not to show disappointment when he learned the roof was closed. "Clouds win sometimes," he said. "Only outside," Piper replied. The children took their jobs while parents stood along the back wall. There was no banner, donation jar, or phone recording a deserving family. Merritt placed the brass projector on a sturdy table. He asked Nico to inspect the first disc. The boy held it carefully by the edges. When he saw the 9 tiny openings, he looked at Laurel. "That's ours." Laurel nodded. Merritt showed Nico where to fit the disc and how to turn the crank slowly. The workshop lights went out. For 1 second, the room was completely black. Then the projector caught. 9 stars climbed the ceiling. They were imperfect. One stretched near a beam, and the smallest point trembled whenever the wind shook the window. But the crooked kite was unmistakable. Nico turned the crank, and his private constellation moved across the room as if it had always belonged in the sky. When the other children asked its name, Nico thought for a moment. "The new place," he said. Merritt stepped back. He let the boy explain it. After the projector demonstration, the bakery owner entered through the side door carrying a blush-pink box. Piper helped place the midnight blue cake beneath the moving stars. 9 small gold points circled 1 candle. No one announced what Laurel had canceled or praised Merritt. The children gathered close while Nico stared at the cake he thought had disappeared. Laurel covered her mouth. Tears ran down her face before she could turn away. Merritt moved beside her but did not touch her. "This is not a debt," he said softly. Laurel watched her son light up beneath the constellation he had drawn during the loneliest month of his life. "I know," she whispered. "That's why it hurts in a good way." Across the room, the projector gave a sharp metallic click. The stars stopped moving. Nico looked toward Merritt, suddenly afraid the promise had broken after all. Merritt listened to the stalled gear. Then he placed Elodie's tool roll on the table and motioned Nico closer. "All right," he said. "Now the club needs its first repair." Merritt could have fixed the projector in less than a minute. Instead, he asked Nico what had changed before the sound. The boy remembered that the crank had become harder to turn. Piper held a flashlight while Nico removed the side plate under Merritt's guidance. A narrow washer had slipped against the new gear. Nico repositioned it with blunt tweezers. Merritt checked his work, replaced the guard, and told him to try again. The crooked constellation began moving. This time, Nico's smile was not the smile of a child receiving charity. It was the pride of someone who had helped keep the room bright. That was the part Laurel remembered most. The cake was cut into uneven pieces. Piper gave Nico the same paper membership card as every other child, and the director posted the next club date. There was no dramatic speech. When the evening ended, Laurel helped fold chairs. Merritt wiped blue icing from the projector table. Nico carried the hand-cut constellation disc inside a padded envelope, but the brass projector stayed with the club. At the door, Laurel tried 3 times to thank Merritt and stopped each time. "You do not have to find the perfect sentence," he said. She looked at him beneath the yellow entry light. "You noticed him without making him feel watched. People rarely know the difference." Merritt glanced toward Piper, who was showing Nico how to protect a library book beneath her coat. "Elodie knew the difference," he said. I learned slowly. Laurel did not ask him to explain the grief in his voice. She only stood beside him until the children were ready. The following week brought ordinary consequences. Laurel still needed a radiator, so Merritt introduced her to the honest Alder garage and stepped away while she arranged her own payment plan. She recommended the bakery because its owner had treated her with dignity. After completing the science hall's background check, she volunteered for first aid supervision once a month. Nico stopped eating lunch in the library every day. On Thursdays, he and Piper sketched constellation discs in a quiet corner, and other children joined them. 2 weeks after the reopening, a parent posted a photograph of the projected stars in a neighborhood group. The caption described Merritt as a hero who had rescued a struggling mother. Laurel saw it before breakfast. Old memories returned. Public kindness, private leverage, gratitude demanded on command. Before she could call Merritt, the post disappeared. He had asked the parent to remove it. The science hall later thanked every volunteer, named no family, and invited children to the next session. Merritt never mentioned it. Laurel did. She came to his shop after closing and found him adjusting the focus on the brass projector. The green thread Elodie had tied around the axle was visible through the open side panel. "You could have let people think you saved us," Laurel said. Merritt looked genuinely uncomfortable. "You did not need saving. Saturday needed a projector. Nico needed a job. I needed a reason to open that trunk." Laurel rested one hand on the workbench. And what did Piper need? To see that loving her mother does not require preserving every room, exactly as Elodie left it. Laurel's expression softened. "Then maybe the surprise was for all of you." Merritt looked at the green thread and nodded. Their relationship changed through small choices. Laurel brought coffee when Merritt forgot to eat. He learned not to offer solutions before she finished describing a problem. She learned that his sudden silence did not always need to be filled. They did not rush. For 3 months, they were simply two parents cleaning tables after astronomy night while their children argued about planets. Then Laurel asked Merritt to dinner at a small restaurant across the river. "A real invitation," she said. "No gratitude involved." Merritt smiled. Fair terms. Their first dinner lasted until the staff stacked chairs. Their second included Piper and Nico. By spring, Laurel had a key to the science hall supply cabinet, not Merritt's home. Trust arrived in sensible steps. Nearly a year after the canceled cake, Laurel returned to Bellwether Bakery. She ordered early and paid the full balance herself. The cake was smaller because Nico had decided telescopes mattered more than frosting. 10 gold stars circled a tiny brass-colored projector. On Nico's birthday, the sky was clear. The children carried 2 telescopes onto the roof. Merritt set the restored projector inside for anyone who preferred the quieter room. Piper fitted a new disc patterned after the stars the children had drawn together. Laurel brought out the cake after sunset. Nico did not look surprised this time. He looked secure. He knew the people around him would arrive when they said they would. After the candle was extinguished, Laurel stood beside Merritt near the rooftop door. Below them, the bakery windows glowed across the wet street. Inside the hall, the old brass projector turned steadily, its small green thread still tied around the axle. Laurel slipped her hand into Merritt's. Above them, the real stars were sharper than anything the machine could cast. But on the white ceiling downstairs, Nico's crooked constellation moved among all the others. No longer a private map for surviving a new place, but the first shape in a sky the children were building together.